Okay, welcome everyone to a special episode of Yoda's Hut. I'm Bill. I go by Yoda Man on the boards, and this is the first round, first game from the recent Gamers Armory tournament on Saturday, September 17th. And I have a special guest joining me for commentary tonight. You might know him from as Derek Gray from the Card Game DB boards. It's Scott, and he was actually my first round opponent in this match. So, hey Scott, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thanks so much for the opportunity and for great games over there at Gamers Armory.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun getting to play and getting to meet you guys coming up from Charlotte. We really appreciated you making the 2.5 hour trek or whatever it was to come play some cards. On a Saturday evening, it was a great turnout, as you know, with 8 of us there, and I was also glad to actually be paired up with one of you guys in the first round, just because. Not that I don't like the guys at Gamers Armory, but I play them a lot more, so it's kind of nice getting a chance to play you, and I also got to play Nathan in the second round. And just since you bothered to come up, you probably didn't want to have to play each other again too, I would guess.
Exactly. As we often say when we do Star Trek tournaments, man, we could have done this in the car ride on the way over here.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. So in this first game, I guess when we flipped, you were going to play dark side, and I was playing light side. Do you want to go ahead and say what your deck list is? I know you got a navy deck sitting there on the left.
Yeah. So I contemplated playing something with Scum and Villainy for this tournament because there have been a lot of really good Scum pods that have been released recently, but I couldn't put anything together I felt comfortable with, so I went with my old standby Navy deck. So it's a two Shield Generator Assault, two Commando Operations. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong deck list.
That's all
It's
right.
two the Tarkin Doctrine, two Might of the Empire, two Enforced Loyalty, then one each of Indoor Entrapment, Entrenched Defense, Repair and Refurbish, and Imperial Blockade. I
Yes.
really like running that Repair and Refurbish pod just because, the support, as it were, is so useful in there.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you got the way to throw damage back along with your Lauren and Imperial Fist. You got the resources. I mean, Thunder Flare is good. The objective clears off damage. I mean, it's certainly a good Navy pod to include with that core of Tarkin, Yularen, and Chimera. So my light side deck, it was a little funny that I was playing stuff on Octagon all week, trying to figure out what the heck to play on light side, and just couldn't decide. And the day before, Derek and I, Quickline, my usual commentary partner, were running through ideas, and Octagon was acting up, so I didn't get to try them. And then on Saturday morning, I got up. He said, I'll get on. You can try a couple of these ideas we had. And one of them was like some Rebel deck with Sabine and Jedi, and I don't even remember all the things. There was about three different things. Every single one of them crashed and burned.
Yeah,
and, so,
yeah. I've
and
been
so
wanting to
basically,
make
I
it.
said, you know what? I'm just going to go play Sluice. So originally, I was going to do like a total unblockables deck, and I decided literally about 5 minutes before we started the tournament what I was going to play. I decided I want to use Lando instead for event cancel. So I used two Trust Me, two Asteroid Sanctuary, two across the Anuit sector, then one questionable contacts, one renegade squadron mobilization, one false report, and one calling in favors. I almost threw Gamma in there, but I didn't want an 11th set, so I took it out. Um,
Wow, you only had one false report, huh?
yeah, I did. The sad thing is that in one other game, I thought I had actually left two in there, and it almost came back to bite me with what I did. But that's a story for a later episode that people will hopefully get to hear when I do commentary for that. So it looks like we're off and started here, and you started with Tarkin Doctrine and Double Enforced Loyalty, and I had Trust Me across the Inuit sector and Renegade Squadron Mobilization.
Yeah,
And you
I'm feeling pretty confident turn zero, as it were.
Yeah, and you played a control room, a mouse droid, and Tarkin. And I remember when you flipped up, I just had this big groan. I don't know if you heard me, but I'm sure I groaned at least internally that, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I got to deal with Tarkin and two enforced loyalty. And then on top of that, Tarkin himself hits the board. So I
yeah,
wasn't feeling
yeah.
very good at this point. Yeah, looks like I played a Cloud City Casino there, so at least I had a resource. I think that's why I was okay with the hand I have, but I didn't have a ton of stuff really decent to play. I think I had Renegade Squadron in my hand, but I didn't want to play it turn one and not really be able to do stuff. Um,
Yeah, and my opening hand here was even worse than you knew because I have a Star Destroyer of some type in my hand, and I also have my other Grand Moff Tarkin in my hand.
Oh wow, okay, okay. So you couldn't play the Star Destroyer, but you at least turn one, but and having the other Tarkin meant there wasn't much else. So I guess I'm swinging with the blast boat just to try to see if I can sneak something in here.
Yeah,
See,
and I'm sitting there thinking, I can't believe he's actually playing Talon Card. Who does this?
yeah. Well, I built my deck like the idea I wanted to use with Smugglers was actually for anti-scum. So I was really curious to see how it might do against Navy.
Yeah, yeah,
I wanted to have dirty secrets and stuff, so yeah, you twisted away in one of my targets there. I don't think I was too happy about that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
liked how you showed it to the camera.
Yes, I'm very excited about getting a twist off because usually in our play group, I'm the guy who bites on the twist, and I'm all, dang it, twist of fate.
Yeah, well, I felt
So
like I had to throw something in there. I thought, if I could sneak something in, maybe I'd do it. I didn't want to throw my other cards in. It looks like I don't remember what it was. I think I might have another resource even after I drew.
yeah,
So it's,
you have Cloud City guest quarters in your hand.
yeah,
And I remember thinking to myself, man, Bill plays edge battles very differently than I do because I hardly ever hold back on edge battles when I'm light side. I'm just
right,
all the time going, gotta win this. Oh, and
right.
here you are correcting me on my misinterpretation of limit one per turn.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So it was so enforced loyalty is limit one, so you can only trigger one of them even if you have both out and yeah. But that's limit one says if you can do each copy of a card and one is you can only use one copy of any of the cards.
Yes, and I
So
believe your exact rationale follow up was that'd be pretty broken if it worked that way.
yeah, I
Which I
mean
was
it's
like,
bad enough
well,
as it is.
I'm like, well, it's Imperial Navy.
That's
Broken is
that's
how it
right. That's
rolls,
right.
right?
So you got to trigger enforced loyalty, and the dial went to three, and said I think the reason I was holding on to the resources was because I knew I had to get some out to try to get around Tarkin doctrine to be able to pay the Tarkin tax, as people call it. So
Yeah, and
I
it looks like you have Renegade Squadron in your hand as well.
yeah, I knew that, and I didn't want to play it and then have to double focus, trust me, and then sort of be short on resources my next turn. That's why I didn't play it turn one.
Yep, and here comes my Star Destroyer. As I do math, I'm like, can I play this and this?
Yeah,
So
and you sure can with that
I'm
resource
playing
there.
my logistics officer, and then I'm gonna drop a Star Destroyer. I think it's the Chimera.
Yeah, I think it was Chimera too, because I remember just thinking at the beginning of this game, I'm like, this could not be the worst thing for me to face. At the beginning, Tarkin, follow it up with Chimera. Yeah, that's what I want to be dealing with
Yeah,
with my
yeah,
smuggler stuff.
it's brutal. At
Yeah,
this point, I'm thinking to myself, how quickly should I play this? Because I know I'll need time as my light side deck to actually get something going.
right,
And
right.
I think I actually end up making the wrong. I make a great tactical decision here with the Chimera, but I make the wrong strategic decision, as we'll see later in the game, by like just going to hours goes to 11 on offense, and I
Right.
shouldn't have. I should have dialed back a little bit because um, you know I risk the false report showing up and wrecking the board state.
Right. Now, yeah, obviously at this point you probably had no idea I had that in my deck.
No, no,
So you're just
but
swinging. You're
yeah,
probably
but
wondering why I was playing Smugglers.
yeah, but when I bite on it, you have already played Aquarius freeholders, and
Right.
just like I should have thought of this, but I
Right,
didn't.
right. Yeah, and I was just hoping I'd flip one up at that point. And I said I made a mistake thinking I'd actually left two of them in my deck and I'd only left one false report. So I really did, I got a little luckier than I remember that false report, might have flipped up in some of these games since there was only one as opposed to two. So I did play the guest quarters. And like I said, I'm sure I held that second resource because I knew I was going to need to get resources out to deal with Tarkin doctrine. And I remember thinking, at least at this point, that you only had Tarkin to defend with, and you couldn't defend with him and blank things at the same time.
Yeah,
So, and that Cloud City operative is going to free up my blast boat, so I liked that.
right.
And I think I decided to put it on the logistics officer to try to
Yeah, at
take away
least
some
tie up the
resources.
resource there. Yeah,
Yeah. Although with control room out, it probably wasn't as big of a deal. And then I did play a freeholder because you had so many cards in your hand. But the problem when I did that was, even though I only played it for three, was now I had no way to get around the Tarkin tax, so I wasn't going to be able to turn off both enforced loyalties.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I
Now I do
remember,
like you playing the Cloud City Operative to free up the blast boat. I've never really contemplated using her in that way,
yeah,
um, because I'm always avoiding Talon card set because of the whole all our guys get tapped down or get exhausted so easily.
right,
But I
right, yeah.
think
Yeah, the Cloud City operatives are great with that. That's one of the reasons why I initially was thinking about using blockade runners too, because they also have the Cloud City operatives, so I could add four of them to help clear things off. But I just decided I wanted Lando in there. That was sort of like my decision at the end: go all unblockables or put Lando in instead of blockade runners. And in general, I think putting Lando in ended up being a good choice, but I think I might have twisted. No, I had Lando. I guess I was just trying to get cards out of your hand there. So.
yeah, and you did. But as I said, I'm always going crazy for edge battles.
Yeah, and
And I keep putting Tarkin into combat here, and
right,
my friend Nathan, who's Gooey Chewy on the card game PB board,
okay,
Nathan would just be apoplectic if he were watching this, going, "Why are you risking the Grand Moff in a combat?"
right,
And the reason is the second card in my hand over there is my other GMT,
right,
so I'm not too worried about it.
right. And I think at this point, so you locked down my free order, which made sense. You let me strike with the Cloud City operative, so I got the Anawat bonus and did get one damage in and got a damage to Tarkin. But when you triggered Enforced Loyalty, it blew up my Trust Me before I ever got to use it. And that's going
Yeah,
to put the dial up, even though I took balance and was only going to have it go to 4 when Enforced Loyalty triggers, it went up to 5. So I was in a bad situation here because that blast boat wasn't going to be doing much defending. and
right.
and you had pretty much a wide open board to swing at here, and I figured it was about to be over quickly. I was just thinking, well, geez, he can blow up both these, and if he has two of those Empire Strikes Back, this is going to be one of the quickest tournament games I've ever played, and not
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
good way for me.
Didn't have Empire Strikes Back, and actually blowing these up here turns out to be somewhat bad for me.
Yeah. So I wonder, in retrospect, maybe I should have locked down your mouse droid so you couldn't have drawn an extra card, but oh
Right.
well. Yeah, this was yeah, you just got such a strong board presence, and double enforced loyalty was just almost impossible for me to deal with at the beginning,
Oh yeah,
as
it's
we've
brutal.
seen.
And the only thing I'm even debating here is, which of these horrible things do I want to play to crush Bill?
Right. Yep. And I just was expecting more horrible things. I'm like, okay, there's probably Yularen or there's going to be Thunder Flare or something like that coming at me right now. So it is not looking good. And the Chimera with the extra blast could, just take out either one of those objectives by itself. And that, yeah, when you played early warning system, then I knew I groaned again because then I knew you could attack with Chimera and free it up. Oh, and then, oh, that's right. You played, I almost forgot you played Moment of Triumph. So you,
Yeah, it ended up not mattering a whole lot, but
no, yeah,
at the
because you lost a
time,
couple units too.
yeah, at the time I thought it was a good play.
Right,
Because I'm thinking to myself, well, I'll lose the mouse droid and the officer, but I knew what I was about to play next,
right,
so I get to keep my stormtroopers,
right,
and I wasn't too worried about what you had on your side. And now I'm looking at a table where you have no defenders, and I'm like, well, this could be good.
right,
So
yeah,
the only downside for me at this moment is that the stormtroopers don't have enough unit damage to take out the freeholders.
right, right. But you could get 3 damage on it, which isn't too bad because then it's a little easier to take it out if you need to. And Chimera certainly it's going to be able to free up because of that early warning system. So, yeah, I didn't blame you here. I wasn't surprised you went after Anawat there to try to get rid of my bonus.
Yeah,
So, and I realized I missed something there. I should have drawn 2 cards when your stuff left play because I had Renegade Squadron Mobilization out, and I completely
that's
forgot
right.
about it. Now I would have drawn them anyway, and I think I might have wanted my 2 cards in my hand, so it may not have made a difference. But and then you lock down my freeholder. I think you're about to lock down my freeholder.
Yeah, yeah, because he is currently elite. So
Right.
I decided to just go all out on attack because I'm like, well, how much damage could he possibly do?
Yep. And so
And
with
also, I knew I had that and that Imperial Fist, and I had to get a unique Imperial guy in
right.
the battle to trigger that.
Yeah.
That card is just brutal.
Yeah. So you ended up blowing up all 3 and got the dial all the way up to 10. 3 damage on the freeholder. three tokens on the freeholder, so unless I get something like a Bamboozle or another Cloud City Operative, that freeholder's locked down. Now, I will say, in retrospect, well, I guess you needed the blast from Tarkin too, but I guess you could have just played Fist with Chimera to get it over there, but you wouldn't have the blast with Tarkin, so it didn't really matter when you played that Fist thing.
Yes,
And then,
and as we'll see here in just a couple of seconds, after I activate my defense protocol, my early warning system, then you
yeah,
go to flip, and everything goes bye
yeah, and
bye.
there was false report. So I was
And I'm
pretty
like,
happy about that,
oh,
except I wasn't happy I didn't have another freeholder in my hand or something else big to drop in right away. But I got
yeah, yeah.
another
And I'm just
Anahuac
like,
too.
I'm just sitting over there like, oh my gosh, did I just give the game away?
Yeah, well, I was hoping I'd draw into something big, and I did keep balance after that when you went all in. So I did one damage to enforce loyalty to turn that thing, at least one of
Yep.
them off. And I figure if nothing else, I'm going to get both of them off, and then maybe I can just hang on for one more turn because I knew you were only going to have 5 resources. But my big worry at that point was I knew you had Chimera, and so if you had the other Imperial Fist with Chimera, if I didn't blow up, if I left damage out somewhere, you were just going to win. So,
Yeah.
or at least if I didn't leave defenders, I think is what happened. Because I played the freeholder there for 3. And so a freeholder with Anahuac, I could take out that enforced loyalty. Because I'll have the extra bonus from Anahuac. And then I was probably just trying to think what else I should play and make sure I had something potentially left on defense. And all I had was a sleuth, and that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I was really expecting a bigger drop from you there.
Yeah,
I,
I didn't really get as much as I was hoping. I remember that. I just didn't draw into it. I was hoping like maybe I'd get a falcon or something and then between the falcon and the freeholder in my hand, I could drop in with falcon, but I don't think I drew a falcon but once the whole day and the game I drew it in it was at the very end and I used it in an edge battle. I didn't even play it. So it
wow.
was I just never saw either one of my falcons. But yeah, so I remember thinking here, I want to turn off the other enforced loyalty, but I didn't want to completely leave an open board in case you had Chimera and Fist. I wanted to at least try to put something in the way, like the Sleuth, I think is what I ended up trying to leave back, figuring if I leave the Sleuth back, then if I could win the edge battle with Chimera, you wouldn't be able to hopefully throw enough damage back at me to blow the stuff up. And then I went in after I went after the enforced loyalty that wasn't damaged yet, so I could actually blow it up with the target and across
Yep.
the Inuit sector. And I'm pretty sure I was going to leave the sleuth. I debated the sleuth because I could see the combination how you'd just be able to blow something up on your turn. So, so I got one.
Yep. Kapoof.
And in retrospect, because of what you played, and I guess you didn't have I don't remember if you ended up having Fist or not, but I don't think you did. I probably should have sent the Sleuth, and it might have given me a chance to win, but I did not do that. So,
Yeah, yeah. After seeing how the game turned out, when you were 1 point of damage shy from winning, that probably would have been better for you.
yeah, yeah, and well, yeah, we're gonna get to talking about that in a minute. I know we kind of both remember what happened here. As we're spoiler alert to everybody who's watching. That so I think I probably committed the sleuth because I figured it didn't matter. I wasn't expecting you to have a seeds in your deck, and I was just gonna make sure at least kind of force you to have to take balance or risk a damage back if you didn't win. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I'm always of the opinion that Lightside needs to just play very, very aggressive in order to have even a chance of winning the game.
right.
Yeah. Oh, yay! Double Tarkin
Yeah, and
Doctrine.
then you flipped
Woohoo!
up the second Tarkin Doctrine. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I remember thinking that. So I just went from one Tarkin Doctrine and 2 enforced loyalties to 2 Tarkin Doctrines and 1 enforced loyalty. And I was glad then that they had changed Tarkin Doctrine to also being limit 1 instead of once, so at least you could only trigger one of them. But I said I knew you had Chimera, I knew you had the Stormtrooper assault team. I knew you had Tarkin because you had bounced all those. So I was kind of curious what you'd end up playing, and the my fear was Chimera into Fist for a win. So
Yeah, yeah.
So
And then I
when
end up discarding Tarkin, and you're just like, oh wow, and
yeah,
because I've been holding on to that other Tarkin all game.
right, when I said that, okay, I was surprised about that. Then I was really expecting Chimera, but then you played the other Tarkin, which again, it certainly made sense. And because he's out and he's got tactics and he can potentially turn off things if he needs to. And then I think you played the Stormtrooper Assault team. And I was actually a little surprised you didn't just try to take out the Sleuth. But
I thought about it, and then I tell myself, well, the dial's at 11. All I really need to do is survive.
right,
And so I think, if I remember correctly, I decide not to attack and just hunker down.
right. Yeah, I don't know if we moved the dot, but yeah, it definitely should be at
Or maybe
11 now. Yeah.
maybe it wasn't at 11 just yet. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
No, I
Uh,
think it should have been at 11. I think we must have forgot to move it as I'm
yeah.
looking at the video there because I know it went to 5 when you blew up the first thing. You blew up 2 more, so it was 10 at the end of your turn last time. And so when your turn started again, I had to commit the sleuth actually to make sure I got or kept balance. Yeah, I just fixed it to
Oh,
make it
yes, there
11.
you are fixing the dial. Okay, yeah.
So
All right, I'm not hallucinating
now everything on the
here.
up and up. And you took balance back, and I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to blow up 2 objectives this turn?
Yep.
And especially because I guess my resource situation here that I had 8 resources, so that I remember thinking with whatever I drew, if I had one more resource, I felt like I actually was going to have a fairly decent chance of doing it, but I couldn't do it with 8 because of the Tarkin doctrine. So,
Right, right.
and I've thought back a few times since we played this game of how I could have won if I might have played the edge battle a little differently, except I'll tell you that I was working under assumption of what I thought you would do when you struck, and you didn't do what I thought you would do. So, um, which, as I said, we're about to see here. So, again, I got my freeholder with Anahuat out, so I could still potentially take up something, and I got my sleuth, and I was probably hoping for some targets. And I remember really thinking here and counting again, thinking, oh, I feel like I need one more resource to.
Yeah, if you had had one more resource, I think you could have played the second sleuth, and you could have played the Renegade Squadron.
Right, and still had 2 to potentially use it. Now, um, I also remember, I said, so I had the sleuth. I think I still had the Renegade Squadron, if I remember right.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, Renegade Squadron ends up in the edge stack.
Yeah, and then the other thing I knew I had at this point was a bamboozle. And so I was trying to figure out how I could save resources to use the bamboozle and play the Tarkin Doctrine tax. That was sort of my trick here because I think if what I would have done with one more resource was play the Renegade Squadron, and then I would have still had 4 left, 2 for Bamboozle and 2 to play the Tarkin tax. And I would have been in a much better situation.
Right, right.
Just because the Renegade Squadron has the tactics where I could have locked stuff down, sort of forced you to block, and then I could have still gotten Bamboozle off and still played a Tarkin tax if I needed to. But the only having 8 kind of hurt me there. I needed to flip up my other trust me, and I didn't get it. But again, I was really trying to contemplate. I know I sat here for. I think at one point you said you're okay about just scooping and moving to game 2, and I said, let me think.
Yeah. I'm like, come on, man. I think this is pretty well out of your reach. But then you showed me that it wasn't.
No,
It was really close.
it was. I was really trying to think that because I knew I had the bamboozle, so I was trying to figure out how I could strike twice with the freeholder, but I remember thinking I was worried you had just tactics the freeholder with Tarkin if you defended with him, and then I could only get 1 strike off with it, and so I was trying to figure out. I was sort of going under that assumption. If you tactics the freeholder when I attacked with it, or even if I didn't attack with it, if I attacked with something else first, although I guess you couldn't have blocked the sluice that way. That if you had done that, I would have sort of been stuck that I wouldn't be able to double strike with the freeholder with bamboozle if you focused it first. So I was trying to kind of take that into account here. And so eventually with my hand, I know I had the bamboozle, and I also had a target. I know, and I don't remember what the other cards were, to be honest with you. Um, I only played one thing, so I at least had five cards in my hand. The problem was I knew you had four, and I knew one was Chimera.
Right,
so, um,
right.
and I figured you might have a fist that you're just going to throw back at me. It's going to ruin my plan. You might have a twist, but sort of play around it. But I remember thinking what I wanted to try to do was try to blow up one of the Tarkin doctrines if I could, and then as long as I could swing with the sleuth between Anawat and the target, I could potentially win if I could double strike with the freeholder. So my whole idea was to try to win this edge battle here. And so I think I went in semi aggressively at first,
Yeah,
but I
and
held
then
off on the target because I wanted to save the target for my sleuth.
right, and then I think at one point you decide, okay, I've got to save cards for edge battles later this turn, so you just
Right,
kind of stop. And then I'm
right,
like, well, I feel confident with these. What with
right.
Twist of Fate being there?
Yep. And see, I only threw two in because I was worried you had a twist, and I almost only threw one in, hoping maybe you'd throw a second one in along with your if you had a twist, but it didn't work. So I remember going here that what I decided was I needed to, yeah, and I made a huge, well, I didn't make a huge mistake there, but so I ended up with the target. I ended up having to throw the target in because I felt like I needed to win that edge battle, and if I was able to win that edge battle, although it was unlikely, then I could guarantee double striking with the freeholder. And so at this point, when you focus the other sleuth, I remember thinking, oh crap, I should have saved the target because if I had saved the target at this very point, I would have won. Because I would have, you didn't focus my freeholder like I was expecting. I was going to strike with the freeholder for three with Anawat. And then I was going to strike for three again after I'd bamboozled. I was going to bamboozle during the engagement. The target and either one of the sleuths would have blown up the other enforced loyalty. And so I was
Yep.
kicking myself that I threw it in because I just assumed, oh, you're not going to risk me having the bamboozle, so you're gonna lock the freeholder down.
Right,
And you
and I
didn't do
thought,
it.
I was thinking to myself, I don't want him to have another attacker because
Right.
I wasn't thinking about you playing Bamboozle to free up a guy to attack twice.
Yeah, and that was why I didn't throw my last card in because normally I would have tried to throw it in because I would have thought, well, it gives me more chance to win edge, and if I win edge, I'm going to draw the card with Asteroid Sanctuary so I can win a second edge battle. But I needed to be able to play the bamboozle, and so at this point I had played it, and I realized I could have moved the token during the edge battle and blown up that Tarkin Doctrine, but then I wasn't going to have enough with the sleuth there to win. So I was ended up, as you said, I was basically one short because I sent that in, and then now, I guess one of the things I could have done I didn't even think about was I could have attacked with the sleuth at um, the undamaged Tarkin Doctrine. Maybe I did do that to try to draw a card and see if I'd luck into target because then I could have won with the freeholder, but Um, or no, I couldn't because I didn't blow one up. Never mind. I'm
Yeah,
getting ahead of
yeah,
myself. Yeah, I was sort of stuck after I didn't blow up the first Tarkin Doctrine, but maybe I should have at least tried to blow it up during the engagement and see if I could. No, I couldn't have done that either. Yeah, I blew it by throwing that target in. I like I said, if I would have done that, I actually could have won, even though it looked pretty bleak for me.
yeah,
But
yeah. And I think the reason that you got into a position where you could have won is because the false report flipped up. And
yeah,
then
oh,
all of a sudden
definitely. Yeah,
I should not have attacked all out. When I knew I could destroy those two objectives, I should
right,
not have attacked that turn. I should have waited until the Death Star dial was at least at 6,
right,
and then I could win before you got another turn.
right,
And
exactly.
therefore, I don't have to worry about the false report showing up.
Right, right. Yeah, and like you said, I had already flipped up the free order, so you knew it was in there by then, but you risked it anyway. So, but that
Yep.
was a good game. I said I was glad I at least made it respectable at the end because it looked so bleak for me at the beginning. I thought that game was going to be over in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and the
So,
fact that I was able to still win after making several way too aggressive plays, which essentially were mistakes,
right,
it just shows how strong Navy still is, even after all the errata.
right,
Navy's so strong, because, and I made so many mistakes and I won anyway.
yeah,
And the same thing happened against Jay in the final round of the tournament. I made 4 huge mistakes and as Navy, and I still won. It
right.
was it was ridiculous.
Right, right. Yeah. So, well, but like I said, Navy's still good. There's no doubt about that. And you played it well. I mean, you were just, I don't think you made any mistakes I don't even say that was a mistake. You were aggressive, but you had a free board to swing at. I don't blame you. You get the dial up that high and in a place where it wasn't like I had units on the board. I mean, you might, I was really gonna have to draw into like the perfect stuff to be able to win, and I came close, but not quite. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was a fun game. I said it ended up being closer than I certainly looked like at the beginning, which made it a lot more entertaining.
Yes.
And you played it well, so I give you credit for winning that game. And I said I think we've both sort of outthought ourselves a couple times. Like I said, I outthought myself at the end about whether or not I should use that target, and I decided to use it because if I won that edge battle, I was just going to blow up the you know be able to blow up that objective, and it didn't happen. So,
Yep.
but
Yep.
oh
Well,
well.
excellent game, Bill. Thanks very much.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you joining me for commentary. I guess we'll do our other game in a couple minutes. So, you got any final thoughts about this one before we wrap it up, though?
My big takeaway from our round one opener was A, you guys have good strategy over there at Gamers Armory, so it's nice to see a well developed tournament scene. And B, Navy is still ridiculously strong. Dark
Yeah,
side in general at this point in time is really, really strong.
yeah. And my takeaway from that was I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised that my smuggler deck ended up giving the Navy deck a run for its money because I had built it to play against Scum, and you
Yeah,
didn't have Scum, so it's like, what am I gonna do now? But it held its own for the most part in the end. That made it close. So, all right, well, thanks for joining me for the commentary. I appreciate it as always, Scott.